Hello Internet, I'm the Disney Brain and welcome to another edition of The Top. TV show pilots serve as an initial peek into a brand new universe. Sometimes they will enthrall us and keep us watching, and other times they may turn us off completely. But either way, we get a sense of the kind of potential a show has, and that will be the main determining factor behind this list, more so than the overall quality of the show itself. And a quick shout out to Sutherland Isabel, who gave me the great idea to tackle this topic. With all that said, let's kick things off with number 10.
Get back to work!
American Dragon Jake Long is a show that went through an interesting journey, and even though many people still enjoyed it, myself included, there's really no denying that it never was as good as it could have been. But the pilot for this series set the bar high and was an ideal kind of start. You had this relatively irresponsible kid who had to learn to take his responsibilities more seriously. In addition, you had the introduction of two antagonists who seemed legitimately powerful. Disney Channel pilots usually drop you right in the middle of a story already in progress, but I think it works well here to both establish the characters and establish the various abilities Jake has as a dragon. It could have set up a larger arc that allows Jake as a character to slowly grow and evolve, similar to another Dante Bosco voice character, but that never really happened. Then the animation style changed, which essentially buried the show. A lot more could have come from a series all about dragons, but it still had one of the best opening episodes of any Disney Channel show. One of the most popular Disney Channel shows also had one of the best pilot episodes a few years back. In fact, Rockers and Writers might just be one of the best episodes of the entire series. It actually does better than most initial episodes at establishing the characters, their personalities, their quirks, the way each of the main four relate to each other. It's all there and pretty well done. And I thought that even in this singular episode, it proved what kind of chemistry Ross and Laura had as two halves of a musical whole. But unlike American Dragon, they did a lot with developing Allie as a character by methodically building up her eventual overcoming of stage fright. And in addition to all of that, it really is one of the funnier episodes of the series. Even with just a cursory understanding of these characters, they produce a lot of hilarious moments, especially Des and Trish. The show as a whole is relatively inconsistent on that front, but I think they really get it right in their pilot.
I missed it.
Now this seems like a strange pick, but hear me out. Yes, I know Bizaardvark has basically jumped off a cliff as far as overall quality goes since this premiere, and truth be told, that kind of hurts me because the pilot gave me cautious optimism regarding how good this show could potentially be. Everything about Bizaardvark's first 22 minutes was weird, strange, kind of random, and yes, bizarre, but I understood where they were coming from with it, so even the really cringy moments felt self-aware at the very least. But more than that, this proved to be a show about content creators, such as myself, that actually understood the mindset behind content creation. Not something I expected at all coming in. They effectively captured the dilemma between embracing your online vision versus compromising it for views and subs, a conflict that's at the heart of many YouTube channels. And they did it while having the most diverse pair of lead characters on any Disney Channel show. This show has yet to live up to the promise of their pilot, which is a shame because there's a lot of places they could go. But even still, their opening episode defied all of my expectations by providing a quality start. Unlike American Dragon or Bizaardvark, Girl Meets World has more than lived up to and surpassed what its pilot sets up. It does well to embrace the fact that it's a continuation, and it never runs away from that. They make it pretty clear that the world, or at least the show itself, belongs to Riley and Maya. Similar to the first episode of Hannah Montana, I liked how they used this episode to put a pre-established friendship in turmoil and have the lead pair work through that. It allows us as an audience to understand more about what drives and powers this friendship, as well as what or who could potentially challenge it. It also gives us another solid introduction to the characters, which becomes even more important when you look at the major development both Farkle and Maya have gone through in the aftermath. And while I don't think that the pilot is one of the better episodes of the show, its take-home message about embracing a new world still holds true even in Season 3. They set the bar high, but a few choice episodes set the bar even higher.
Figure it out on the way.
One of the most definitive Disney Channel shows of all time all started with a rumor. What I immediately liked about this episode is not just its subject matter, but how they chose to initially handle it. They didn't go for some G-rated slap on the wrist, oh no. Lizzie McGuire accuses Kate of stuffing her bra. That's pretty bold. But it's also about the great way that this show handles coming-of-age ideas, and how they make it maybe bigger than it should be, because the point of it all is perspective. For a girl Lizzie's age, things like rumors and the potential confrontations that come with them can make for a very challenging 22 minutes, and in the process, the pilot here helps establish Miranda as one of the greatest best friend characters in the history of the network, with not just her persona, but the way she constantly has Lizzie's back, and the mini war that breaks out between Kate and Miranda afterwards was very entertaining. But what seals it is Lizzie going through her own development by facing up to her mistake and not letting Miranda take the blame any longer. And again, we've all been there. It's an exceptionally hard thing to pull off at a young age, and sometimes at older ages too. Even though they aren't exactly subtle about many of their take-home messages, the show as a whole works because of that. Seeing things from their perspective makes the situations they find themselves in potentially world-shattering, even though when we grow up, we tend to know better. We'll need to talk about this show as a whole in more detail in due course, so we'll figure it out on the way.
Mom! Phineas and Ferb are making a title sequence!
The story goes that the concept of this episode is what Phineas and Ferb creators Dan Povenmire and Jeff Swampy Marsh used to pitch their show idea to Disney Channel. I would have loved to be in that room because Rollercoaster is one heck of a ride, pun intended. It's so over the top and bonkers because, well, it is a cartoon, but it also serves as a great first look at the kind of advanced writing and humor that the series as a whole utilizes, and it's all about the well-executed intentionality of the comedic style at play here. The best example is the introduction of both Agent P and Dr. Doofenshmirtz, both great parodies of the spy genre and the evil mad genius. They build up this elaborate Doofenshmirtz plan for global conquest only to have it hilariously fall flat on the basis of common sense. And just like any cheesy 80s villain you can think of, he never really learns, but making fun of that is kind of the point here. But what also really works is how Phineas and Ferb's summer plans are looked at as just casual activities. The through line holds throughout this episode and creates some great one-liners. All in all, this pilot gives a great first look into just how funny and all-around great this show was. They had smart people writing these episodes, and it almost always shows in the final product.
Hang in there, baby.
In an effort to update my understanding of Disney Channel, I've taken to rewatching many shows that I didn't praise very highly to start, and this is one of them. I already knew that Lee Allen Baker would be great coming in, but in this episode, everyone in the cast is more than carrying their weight. They even got a few good moments out of PJ, and calling that rare would be an understatement. But what really works about this episode is its attention to family. I've been a vocal critic about how the Duncans as a family unit are portrayed, but it's episodes like this that may end up slowly changing my perspective on that. The very first episode places the Duncans in a very realistic predicament where the parents are struggling with figuring out how to handle 4 kids, but the episode, I think smartly, chooses to focus more on the humor early on and balance that out with the more emotionally potent themes later on. Then it's established through PJ of all characters that Bob and Amy will never really be alone because they can always count on the kids that they already have. A really touching sentiment that's also delved into further with Gabe admitting his frustrations with Charlie to Teddy, one of the best and most genuine sibling moments of the entire series. At the end of the day, Study Date as an episode has very little to do with its title. It's really more about all of the Duncans coming together for the sake of Charlie, who will need all of them to make it. And it's legitimately one of the best episodes of any Disney Channel show with regards to a family dynamic.
Yep, that's me.
Quick point of order here. Multiple sources list different episodes as the official first episode of That's So Raven. So, I decided to go with Mother Dearest because it felt the most like a premiere to me. And this is a great series opener on several fronts. For one thing, it's Raven Simone acting the heck out of every scene she's in and putting that signature attitude and comedic charm on full display. But I also think that the way they handled the mechanic of Raven's visions here works really well. The general series idea of misunderstanding the situation and then getting in even more trouble because of it is well executed here, especially with the second vision regarding her teacher specifically. But we also get a lot of depth out of the character of Raven Baxter through this episode when all the hilarious moments end. We see a character that strives to be both great academically and great personally, and who also feels genuine guilt when she doesn't earn what she gets. It's a very powerful family moment when Raven is with her parents in the classroom and they discuss what the expectations are for each side. We've talked a bit about coming of age narratives here, which doesn't define this show nearly as much as Girl Meets World or Lizzie McGuire, but here we get a great point of character development on that end, because part of growing up is understanding your parents' wishes with more clarity. It serves as an all-time great moment in an all-time great Disney Channel show. Gravity Falls is flat out one of the best Disney shows to have come out in a long, long time, and since it's already over, I think I can say that much definitively. It's one of those truly exceptional cartoons that just understands so much on so many different levels. and it helps create a real debate as to whether cartoons today are actually better than the cartoons that defined the 90s and early 2000s. Most of us know that the show itself is high quality, but a lot of that is set up by a great opening episode. I don't think it's necessarily one of the best episodes of the show per se, but this show doesn't really have many bad episodes, so that doesn't really say much, but it still did so well to capture the initial spirit, mystery, and fun of the show, as well as leaving us on a perfect cliffhanger that would go on to define the series as a whole, as well as set up what I think is the all-time best episode. And that's really the main thing here, setup. It's more important with this show because of the mystery and reveal-centric elements it utilizes masterfully. It introduces so much about Gravity Falls and the inherent weirdness of the town itself, while still giving you a concrete first look at a wonderfully portrayed brother-sister pair whose relationship is one of the best aspects of a show that would still be good without as much focus on it. And on top of that, maybe more so than any episode on this list, maybe even more so than number 1, this episode demands that you watch the next, and the next, and the next. And if that's not a clear sign of an all-time great pilot, then what is? But what beat out the Pines twins for the number 1 spot? We'll get there, but first, let's bring in some honorable mentions. As a show, Even Stevens is one of the best on the network at balancing out the over-the-top moments with meaningful ones, and some of the best moments of the series is created because of the well-layered dynamic between Ren and Lewis Stevens. You do get some pretty standard stuff from them, but you also balance that with some great brother-sister moments, providing a much more nuanced relationship than a lot of the more tumultuous ones in other shows. And that relationship isn't just a feature of the show, it's the primary defining element, and it works so well. Even though later episodes would portray this element better, the premiere really set the tone for the rest of the series. Lewis wants a rare trading card and essentially pimps out his sister in order to get it. This only works because Ren needs more service hours and is generally portrayed as a perfectionist. The best part about this situation is twofold. 1. Both characters are in the wrong here to varying degrees, and they actually address that effectively. And 2. The acting by both Christy Carlson Romano and Shia LaBeouf is really good here. It was great to see them work off each other, and no scene in the episode portrays that point better than the closing moments where Lewis gets Ren a necklace she had her eye on before. It works that much better because Ren isn't obsessed with jewelry or anything like that. She never blurts out how much she wants this one necklace. It's a great use of direction where dialogue isn't needed and subtlety takes priority. I wonder which director could have possibly been responsible for that. Red and Lewis make a strong case for being one of the best sibling pairs on the network, and it all starts by first giving a great initial look at both of them as people first, before delving into their relationship and the layers thereof, and through all of that, it feels genuine and lived in. There's some absurd stuff, yes, but Even Stevens, more than most shows on Disney Channel, works because their best moments capture both powerful and believable situations. Their pilot episode understands that, and through solid acting, exceptional direction, and great teleplay, Even Stevens delivers what I believe to be the best Disney Channel opening episode of all time. But, as always, let me know what you think are the greatest pilot episodes down below. And of course, thanks for watching.
You're right. Wait, Ren? Ren, are you gonna leave me here? Ren? Ren!